while we have more people joining us, this time from Sogamoso as well, from Universidad Santo Tomás, from Villavicencio, Claudia. Oh yeah, some other people, it's also sharing the issues that we are having with internet today. So, well, I guess we can start today. So welcome everyone once again. This is the second webinar that ASOCOPI is holding in this year. Today we are going to, or we have the honor to present our president. We have with us Professor Jairo Castañeda, is the current president of ASOCOPI, as I was saying. He is a PhD candidate in education program at Universidad Distrital Francisco José de Caldas. Currently, he is an assistant professor and researcher at Universidad Surcolombiana. He belongs to the research group ILESearch and Estupoli, and his research interest centers on pre-service teachers' identities and their interaction with professional development using narratives. So he is going to share with us a very interesting webinar on a topic that is really useful for all of us, and it leads us and help us to reflect as well on our practice and on ourselves. He is going to be working on this webinar with being and becoming an English teacher. So welcome, Professor Jairo. I guess your microphone is off.
My microphone, yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, can you listen?
Yeah.
Can you listen?
We can hear you
very well.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction.
Okay. So the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much for this space. I have to confess that this is not easy for me to plan a webinar. It's kind of complicated. So it is part of what I am going to talk about here, the complications of the issues that we could have along our journey as English language teachers. And as you know, as many people are saying here, Aleida was acknowledging that the connectivity today is so bad. So I hope that we can keep on the conversation during this time. I would like to ask my dear colleagues, thank you, Adriana, from the very beginning, please, from the first one, thank you. The presentation, so we are going to use this presentation as part of my introduction to the topic. So it is not going to be like a conference in which I am going to talk about a topic, but I am going to try to make it a little more dialogical. Right, so the invitation is for you to participate as much as possible. If you have questions, I'm going to be very, very attentive here, pending on the chat. So paying attention to what you write, and I can see if you have questions or if you have doubts about or comments, because not everything can have or can be must be a question, right? So comments on that. So the topic of my presentation is being and becoming an English teacher, as Eliana was saying. Currently, I am the president of ASOCOPI. So this placed me in a position of being aware also of many things. As well, I am a teacher educator at Surcolombiana University, but also I work at Distrital University. So I belong to these two research groups, one from the university, from Universidad Distrital, and the other one from Surcolombiana University. And that has been a very nice experience for me, doing this kind of research, working with people, working with very knowledgeable people, and learning from them all the time. So I would like to thank everybody here, many people that I know here and are attending the webinar today, people from Boyacá, people from Huila, people from here, people that I know and have given me some pieces of who I am, right? They have helped me to construct myself in this process. Right, so a second. Okay, so let's continue. So we are going to start with the following activity. This is the first activity, and I would like you to participate on this. I'm going to share this on the chat. So wait, give me a second. I am trying to. Connectivity is not that easy today, so I am trying to share. Otherwise, I'm going to share with my colleagues here also on the WhatsApp. So in case I cannot share.
Yeah, we are going to share it in the chat.
On the chat, okay, right. Thank you. So we are going to use this Mentimeter, and we are going to see what is going to happen with the question. So Adriana, could you please stop sharing your screen, because I'm going to share mine. Thank you. So for a little while, give me a second, because I don't know. On the computer is easier. That's something that we have to see. Okay, I'm going to try to present here on the computer, but I don't know if it's going to be easy for you to see. Okay, right. So I can see that we can check here. So the question is, write 3 words that define you as an English teacher. 3 words. Try to use the Mentimeter, the link that Kathy has shared, and answer. Let's see what happens with these 3 words that defines you as an English teacher. So 3 people have entered. I know that we have internet issues, but if you want, we can participate. Right. Okay. So this is an interesting exercise. Thank you, Aleida, for your answer. This is an interesting exercise, because sometimes when we are asked to define ourselves, or it happens in my case to define who I am, it is a little complicated. Because when I analyze myself, I can see many issues or many things that maybe I don't like personally. But when I ask other people, those things are going to be kind of different. So from this exercise, we can see here that there is a very huge word, a big word in the middle, that it is creative. And the other one is patient, listener, dynamic, facilitator, inspiring, human, committed, responsible, friendly, helpful, organized, dynamic helper. Very interesting. Your answers are very interesting. And now I would like to ask you something to think about these answers. Why do you think most of the answers are related to our like adjectives that define us, the qualities that we have? And those are like part of personality, part of our personality, right? When we say creative, patient, love, enjoy, dynamic, listener, inspiring, most of those words are related more to our personality. So why do you think it is happening? Why do you think? You can write on the chat if you want. Or you can open your microphone as well.
Because we involve who we are with what we do. It's like one person.
Yeah, very true. Karen is saying that this is part of a human activity. right? She is saying that, sorry, I cannot see very well the chat. So being a teacher is related really close as human beings because we work for human beings, mostly because that's related to the way students see us. That's very interesting, Rafael, your answer as well. And Patricia says that how we think about education. So that's the way that we assume education, and we are portrayed we are directed to seeing education in that way. And that's very interesting. That's a very interesting thing. But now we are going to change the question. And let's see what happens with the next one. So now we are going to write 3 words that others will use to define you as an English teacher. So how we are going to see the others, or how the others see us as English teachers. Juan Carlos says, because we are a profound human way to see and live, and those help us to connect with other human beings, our students. That's a very nice answer as well. Thank you very much, Juan Carlos. Let's use the same Mentimeter. Please don't go out. It's the same link. And now we are going to do we are going to write on this answer, about this answer. I don't know if something is happening because I lost my connection on the computer. Sorry. I'm going to see if something happens here. We are in the same question. No, on the next one. But give me a second, please. So the next question is just to think about, and you can answer then on the chat. 3 words that other people would use to define us as English teachers. Demanding, Adriana. Role model. Serious, demanding, passionate. Okay, interesting. What else? What other words? Professional, innovative, funny. Okay, committed, empathic. All right, those are very interesting questions. Very interesting answers. Interesting, demanding, patient, hardworking, innovative, inspiring, caring. And many people are relating the teaching profession, and we are focusing the teaching profession on the kind of person we are. Oscar says methodic, caring, and knowledgeable, right? But sometimes it happens that some people have a different image of who we are as English teachers. And I am going to stop sharing if I can, because this internet is awful, sharing this part. And Adriana, could you please share the presentation? Continue sharing the presentation. Thank you. And we are going to see then this this meme, right? And pay attention to the different things that are happening here. This is the classical meme in which people are portraying how someone sees another people. And in this case, we can see that the author of this meme is trying to portray different ways that people see an English teacher or a language teacher in this case, right? How my students see me, like an alien, like someone who comes from another word that speaks in a language that it is not understandable. How my friends see me, so my personal friends, not my English teachers, or my friends who are English teachers as well, like a dictionary, like, okay, now, how do you say this word in English? Or you know English, so please translate this song for me. Yeah, how do you, okay, what does this song say when you are listening to a song in English and those kind of things? The third one is how my family see me. So like a very dedicated person who is like a very strict, very, I don't know, very well, the posture is very, very nice. How society see me. So it's like a representation of someone who is like bringing a culture or an ideology that it is spreading around the world, that in this case is British. So we are trying to portray what British means, right? How my parents see me, as Shakespeare, so very knowledgeable, very important people, very, I don't know, productive in some sense, and how it really is. So we can see here the cell phone with this kind of message that is using, let's say, not the traditional or the standard English that we have been taught, but other kind of English. So it's a little more realistic one, right? So these different visions, and we can see the other one, please say, Adriana. These different visions that many people have about us, maybe we cannot notice them, or we can notice them, but sometimes we are focusing on the good aspect, as we are explaining, right? Or you explained at the beginning. And this one is another one: English teachers as a policeman, English teachers as people who can travel around the world, English teachers as this one, the third one. My students and parents think I do, so I am going to relax and I'm not going to check my work. What my students think I do, very strict one. What I think I do, and this is the relation with this movie that is the Society of the Poets. So it is like the inspiring people. So I think that I am inspiring the other on what I actually do, and we have to uh, agree on this, that the last one is more stick to the reality these days, that we are in this remote teaching, trying to do many things at the same time, trying to work as much as we can, and trying to deal with many things, right? So let's continue with the next one, please, Adriana. And please split. Okay. And in this case, this kind of visions made me think about who I am as an English teacher as well, right? I am a person who has been educated here in Colombia, a person who has learned English because I was very passionate of English, a person who has been dedicated to education because I found in education a way of expressing and a way of developing many things, my personality, my developing professionally, developing also intellectually. A person who has been interested in helping the others. Throughout the time, I have learned that the most important thing, as you said at the beginning with the Mentimeter exercise, that we have to be very caring about our students, understanding with our students as well. A person who is close to the student, not a person who is like detached from the students. But this process of being this kind of teacher who I am, and I am not saying that I am the best teacher ever, because I have my imperfections as well, many, by the way. Let's say that this kind of teacher that I am now, it's because something else happened in my life. Something else have been influenced my life during these years, right? Many good experiences, many bad experiences, but anyhow, in this like intersection of what I think I am and what the others think I am, I have learned that sometimes I have to deal a little bit more with some ideologies that are spread in this academic world. So we can go to the next one, please, Adriana. So there are some realities that we have to face. And let's say that I have learned this throughout my years of experience, right? Um, the first thing is the aspect related to language identities. And this idea that we have seen in some of the memes, that maybe we are like the ambassadors of foreign cultures, foreign culture, sorry, and in that fashion we have to replicate many things that they are doing or that they are teaching or that they are trying to spread around the world, trying to see English as a set of rules, like I'm going to use the words that my dear friend Carmen Elena Guerrero used, like the object that it is given to you, but you cannot touch, you cannot damage, something that you cannot not that you can use it, but please don't modify it, right? So we are seeing like this kind of teacher, and this is an ideology that has been spread along the years and in many places, right? And also there is like this process of homogenization of language teaching education programs, in which we can see that everybody has to stick to certain way of being or to certain way of seeing the world, right? And or a certain way of doing as well, right? So in this case also, it is spreading, or it is promoting this idea, not only in the new teachers who are studying in the language teaching program, but also on the people who are looking at us, right? That there is a vision of language that it is very reduced, is very reduced. So we can acknowledge then, or we can remember in this case, some TV commercials that are connected to language teaching, and they are like trying to offer, or they are offering these English language courses, right? And they bring this opportunity for you to have a better opportunity in your life. So I remember one of them a few days ago. I was watching television, and the person in this commercial, this TV commercial, was saying, where were you 1 year ago? And where would you be now if you have taken advantage of the time and learn English? And I thought, I will be in the same place, but with a little more knowledge. But this is like the ideology that they are trying to introduce in our minds. And many people have nowadays, that learning English is a key for success. And learning English is only repeating a set of grammatical structures, or a set of other, let's say, learning the language, and that's it. But then we are here in our language teaching programs, and when the students come, they think the same. They think that most of the times when they start the BA, the program, they think that the way that, or that the only option that they have is learning English because they want to travel around the world, or learning English because they want to become, yes, very, very instrumental. Thank you very much, Adriana. And yeah, there is a deficit view of language and language teaching. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Aleida, for those words. And then our students are seeing English as the same. But when the time comes, I mean, when they are really involved in the language teaching program, they start realizing that there are more things that are involved in just in learning English, or in becoming an English teacher. It's not just learning the language just because, right? Learning the structures, being a C1, as many people are saying, right? And this brings, I mean, I remember now a situation in which I want to tell this as an anecdote. I was teaching something in a master's program, and in the evaluation, someone said that the master should hire people with a C1 level. And I wondered that day, oh my God, so this person is seeing me as a reference for his English or her English, I don't know, or this person is here for learning how to deal with issues like these kind of ideologies that we have now in our mind, that we have to stick to respond to a certain level, or to a certain policy that nowadays is is in our society and in our communities. So this is something that worries me a little, and I started seeing what is happening then with this kind of ideologies and these kind of issues. So could you please continue, Adriana? Right. So then I look for these opportunities for promoting reflection in the class and for promoting a sociocultural perspective also in the class. Right. Thank you very much, Yolanda, for that comment. And I started seeing that there is necessary for us as English language teachers to and teacher educators to open those kind of spaces, creating these opportunities to externalize everyday concepts and internalize the relevant academic concepts. So this interrelation, this connection that we can make between what we have learned in the class, what we have learned from a book, what we can learn from a theory, and what really happens in the field, right? And how I'm going to internalize this and how I'm going to externalize what I have been or what I have learned from those aspects, from those experiences. Also, this aspect of creating mediational spaces, because sometimes when we have in this like vertical relationship that we create in our spaces, we don't allow the other, we don't allow students, and Juan Carlos was mentioning a few minutes ago that we are working with students who are humans as well, but sometimes we see them not as humans, but as someone who is inferior. I mean, human, yes, but someone who is inferior to us, right? So this person cannot make any contribution to the class because this person doesn't have the experience enough, doesn't have like the knowledge that we have, or doesn't have like the position that we have in that moment. But these mediational spaces in which preservist teachers can be feel like more encouraged with us, with teacher educators, and which in these spaces where they can express what they really feel and they live every single day, it could contribute a little more, a little better to this constitution or construction of who they are as English language teachers. So in that case, or in the same way, we are going to go to the next one. I proposed a strategy. Let's say you can there. Thank you. Okay, I propose a strategy for my classroom based on something that I have learned. And in this way of doing this class a little more from the perspective of the social critical, of the social cultural theory, of the social cultural positioning, I started seeing that using the narratives help us and contribute us to understand the self, to understand who we are as English teachers, right? And I understand that there are some aspects that we have to take into account in this in the use of these narratives. And the first one is that they have external input. They have moments in which they feel tension, in which they have breaks, in which they have seen opportunities, in which they have seen difficult moments or very good moments that they could also relate in their stories. And their stories are valuable, and I consider their stories valuable. So I started to introduce these narratives in my classes as well, and creating the possibility of the self-expression, their self-expression as English language teachers, as this teacher in the becoming, right? So then I started seeing that as narratives are very interesting, I could use also narratives for myself. I could also started seeing who I am as an English teacher from the narratives that I could construct. So the next exercise that we are going to do here, could you please go to the next one, Adriana? It's going to be a very short story. We are going to use this short story in order to express something, a moment, a very short moment, please, that you can see yourself as an English teacher. I know that here we have some pre-service teachers, so teacher educators, some English teachers, and we have not any distinction about that. So we are going to see what happens with this short story. So we are going to take a couple of minutes just to see what happens, what you write about them, your stories. Meanwhile, I'm going to read here some of the comments on the chat. Teaching is seen as a simple knowledge transmission instead of collaborative learning. Yes, very good. Thank you very much, Juan Carlos. And Yolanda says, agreed, Juan Carlos. That's a reductionist view of what being a teacher entails. Right, so let's see what happens with the Padlet. So if you can start writing your stories. I'm going to try to see on my computer. Just try. Right, we have seen here, we have a couple of stories. That's a very interesting one. Right. So while you are writing your stories, I have to tell you that while I am reading them, I can see that there are many things involved. One is yourself as a teacher, as an English teacher, doing the things that we know that we have to do, being as we describe in the first one. But also I can see some examples here in which we have to acknowledge that there is something more, and there is something that it is outside the classroom, or it could be in the same classroom that we are not seeing very often, right? So for example, I can see here, some years ago, a student told me, teacher, now I love English. It was difficult for me, but I finally understand. I am not stupid. You helped me to realize I could and I can. And I cried. So you can see here that there are many emotional aspects, but also this vision of this student about himself as a stupid person at the beginning was very hard, I will say, right? Okay, right, and it says here, okay. I remember one day during my teaching practicum, I kind of yelled at one of my students asking for the homework. He told me he didn't do it. I said, were you too busy? He didn't reply. And the whole class told me, teacher, he works with his dad. I almost cried, and since that moment I learned I think that it is like about the context. So this is now connected with the next slide. Sorry if I am rushing this activity, but you know, time is short. And then the next slide that Adriana is going to show. Thank you, Adriana. Has to do with this part that it is not only from the story itself as a moment lived, but also the context in which where our students live. Something that it is sometimes invisible for us because we see only what we want to see in the classroom. But some aspects, like the ones that you are writing on the Padlet, those moments that are like described in these stories, also let us see that there is a culture outside, there is a cultural aspect outside, there is a context that we have to analyze, to understand, and also to debate a little bit, right? So the proposal also has to do with the connection of these two aspects, the stories that we live and the ethnographic aspect or the ethnographic study or analysis or description of our context. And what we can do here is to see and try to understand those external factors and the culture that it is around us. And in that way, we can continue with the next slide, please, Adriana. Okay, thank you. So I don't want to go deeper on the explanation of theory because this is not the objective. We are going to skip this one because the idea was to, and this could be like something extra that you can do later. And the idea was like to think about the context of the story that you were showing here, right? That you were writing here. Some of you did actually when you are writing the story. And we have to analyze then what is happening with that. And then what we are doing or what we can do with these two aspects or with these two moments, the story and the ethnographic analysis or the description of the context, is basically what some authors have called an autoethnography, right? So go please to the next one, an autoethnography. So could you please start clicking? Thank you. And autoethnography is basically that. When we reflect upon our story, but also when we analyze and describe the context around us, and we try to make this balance or to balance these two aspects into a writing or written paper. Sorry, right? So the three aspects or the three components of the word of ethnography let us see that there are personal experiences on the one hand with the author, understanding of the culture experience with the ethno, and the description and the analysis, the systematical analysis with the graphic. So using this idea of working with autoethnographies, I started doing or proposing a pedagogy of reflection based on autoethnography in my classes. And that's why I started seeing that they could define or try to understand a little bit who they are as English teachers, who they are becoming as English teachers, and also why they are becoming an English teacher like they are or like they will be in the future, right? And let's continue with the next, please, Adriana. Right. I'm not going to stop on this, sorry. So we are going to skip this one as well. And then this process of ethnography allows us to see something very interesting and very important. So it is not like the narrative in itself. I mean, it's a little more complex because it involves the ethnographical aspect as well. But then the purpose of the ethnography is precisely disrupting norms of research practice and representation, right? We saw some representations that people have about us. And these are the representations that sometimes we have in our mind and we say, okay, yes, I am this kind of teacher, or I am this kind of person when I am studying, right? So the idea of disrupting these norms to break up like the moments in which we are like struggling with the idea of being or becoming an English language teacher, help us to understand who I am, or to understand who we will be, right? And also another purpose of autoethnography is working from the insider knowledge. And this is something that I have worked for some years now. And basically, when I started the PhD, I started realizing that, yeah, people who produce knowledge are people who are very academic ones, and they are very academic. They have studied a lot, they have read a lot, and they are producing because they know. But then I realized that my students in the BA, the pre-service teachers, were knowledgeable as well, right? And we have invisibilized those knowledges, right? Those knowledges, using the word in plural just because, you know, there is not only one kind of knowledge, but knowledges in general. And I started realizing, I started seeing that they could produce and give me more things to learn, right? And I learned a lot from them. So another thing that, or another purpose of ethnography, and it was the previous one, it was the maneuvering of some issues, the pain, the confusion, the anger, the uncertainty, that sometimes it is not well recognized in research, and we cannot see them, these feelings, very often in research. So, but it happens, right? What happens if a student feels that this person, or that I am a stupid one, as we could see in the in the story? I am feeling that I am stupid because some people say that I am stupid, or I feel that someone is seeing me as a stupid one. And the same happens with our pre-service teachers. They see sometimes that they don't have this ability for teaching that it is required, or that they don't want to fit on the standards that people are requesting, right? Because they are not enjoying this and they are suffering. They are confused sometimes. When we start doing research with them, sometimes they feel that doing research is useless because they don't understand what is the role of research in the teaching education. Also, another purpose of the ethnography is breaking the silence. And with this idea of breaking the silence, I have to say that it is especially when they really empower themselves and they express whatever they want. And they don't express sometimes what they feel because they don't think that it is relevant for the teacher or for the professor in that case, right? So if they don't see that it is relevant, they say, okay, this is not what the teacher is asking. And we have to, like, with this proposal, or with this, let's say, experience, what I tried to do was like breaking that wall that sometimes students see between them and me, and start looking for their sincerity, their honesty, right? Their stories as they are, not the stories as I want, right? Or as they think I want, because sometimes they said, teacher, what do you want? And I said, I don't want anything. It's whatever you want to say or to express in your story, because it's just your story. And you have to express against many things that have happened. So with this part, I could I could understand, sorry, also that students have many things to say, and they have kept silence for a long time. And we have to listen to them because they are part also of our community of practice. right? And they are also a very important part of our uh, academic work, right? So we can learn very, very much about that, about them. So we are going to go to the next one, not the next one, but the next. Very good. So I started working with them, and I found some ideas I extracted from them. And then it happens that some people or these students were very interested in discovering what is happening or what happened with them as pre-service teachers. So I brought some of their stories, of their autoethnographies. In this case, we work collaboratively, but they portrayed many ideas here. Peinado and Morales, they are two students from Universidad Distrital, and they started analyzing their own stories in this process of becoming English language teachers. And they could see many interesting issues. For example, this says, Peinado and Morales offer a similar perspective by stating that we should recognize that native-like English doesn't necessarily represent a skillful teacher, and it should not be considered as a defining feature to judge their quality. So they are talking about serious issues, and they are talking about aspects as the language level or the language use. And they are seeing that this idea of reaching the native-like English was not what they want or they were pursuing, or was not what the aspect that defined them as English language teachers, because they say that there are other things that are the other aspects that are more related to the profession than to the skill or the language skill that are important also in the process. And they say, they continue, indeed, it is a fallacy thinking that holding nativeness like proficiency and knowledge in the language is enough to guarantee a teaching job. This has constituted a form of colonial belief. And they said that. Let's continue, please, Adriana. Another one. They say, other group said, we consider some implications for the future. We also look at our teachers and think, I hope I never become someone like him or her. You see, they are expressing that sometimes they feel this like desire of not following what other teachers are doing just because they are not doing what they think or what our students are considering that it could be or must be the correct one, right? Thank you. They say, we have present in our career the native speaker teachers in teaching programs saying, you have a thick accent. You speak like a peasant because your grammar is not good, but please, I respect peasants. I understand that you will never get the accent because you learned very old. Among other old-fashioned ideas, we don't want to replicate. Those comments make pre-service teachers less happy with their identity and concerned about what they are doing with their lives. We start struggling with what we know is right and what we feel is good. I have to say again that this is what they wrote, and they are feeling this way. And sometimes we don't allow them, or we don't give them the space to say what they think. And look, they are saying very important things. They are being very critical in their education. They are seeing that some things can be done differently. And that's very important for us as teacher educators. That's very important and necessary for us to understand. I would like to read the next one. Could you please continue, Adriana? We witness that there are voices that are not yet heard in our career, and which we consider to be important in learning a process to be future English teachers. Therefore, we consider it crucial that the same students should unite in groups within the university to talk about how we see our project. They call project because this is the major, being carried out, and how we see ourselves in it, whether as agents or as receivers. So they want to take position as well, and they are getting like this awareness of saying what I want to be. I want to be a receiver, or I want to be an agent. an agent of change, a person who also is going to promote that change in others, who also is going to go towards the human development, not only the language or the linguistic aspect, but also the human development. And the last one, please, Adriana. Adriana is writing about the time. The last one, sorry. As our stories have shown, the acquisition of a second language can present many difficulties that are strongly marked by xenophobic and racist dynamics deeply rooted in our society. Nevertheless, we decided every day to keep with our process of learning because we've been able to reflect on those problems which have helped us to empower ourselves. In addition, we want as future teachers to be able to empower our students and help them overcome some of these problems too. So I have to conclude then. I haven't analyzed this collaborative autoethnography like to say this is the conclusion of everything, but I am just showing you these examples as the possibility that we can have in order to listen to what our students are saying and what our students are thinking or are considering. And I strongly believe that this is very important for our English language teacher education programs and for us as English language teachers or teachers educators. So that's why this idea of working with narratives or autoethnographies, analyzing our self-stories and the culture that it is around us, could be a possibility for that. And I am very glad to share this, the next slide, please, to share this with you. I would like to thank you. I know that the time is very short, and if you have any question, I am here to listen to you. And if I cannot answer right now, there is my email address, and you can write on my email as well. So Juan Carlos has a question.
Yes, thank you so much, Jairo, for your presentation. It was very it's always very important to always be learning, and we teach and making some comments about what we're doing. I totally agree with you, and I was thinking of the last quotes that you mentioned, or something that I have been living here in the States. In this moment, I'm teaching private lessons to some people that have lived for so long that they never learned the language, and I have to deal with that they feel like, hey, you know English, so it's easier for you to move around, to go around, to do things. When I say, but it's not easy. I say, but you have to look over those things because you have been living longer here than me. You have achieved many other things. Maybe that's something that I have to deal with, and that now that I've seen that we're working on increase that confidence, not only to in from the language perspective, but to tell them, hey, you are human, you live in this world, you are part of this world. No matter where you live, no matter what you do, you are important, and your values and principles matters. So I think that is the first thing that we have to work on, and that's what I said at the beginning, right? We are humans, and we have to start from this is our starting point of view. Yeah, I just want to share that.
Totally agree with you, Juan Carlos, and maybe the experience with our other people have taught us that this is the way. But sometimes what we can see in the language teaching program is that the students don't understand that just until the last moment when they go to the teaching practical and they face some realities, right? So they have to start seeing what really implies being a teacher. But we can start doing this process from the very beginning, from their own experiences as English learners, for example, the experiences that they have had with other teachers or other English teachers. Yeah, so I consider that it is also necessary and part of our process. Thank you very much for your kind words on the chat, Johan and Jonathan. Um, Rafael says, I agree with Professor Juan Carlos. Sometimes I feel like teaching the language becomes an extra tool to do something else, to go deeper into the human experiences and to help transform them and myself. I totally agree with that. And we have to see that, I mean, it's our profession. I have to say that I am very in love with my profession. It doesn't matter if I make mistakes sometimes, if I don't know what to do sometimes, because it is part of our process. It is normal, and we are humans anyhow. But if we are very engaged, very devoted to what we are doing, we are going to see that that there are going to be rewards, right? Rewards. Rosa Isabel says, nice and useful webinar. It allows us to remember our important role with our students and ourselves. Very important, that quote, Rosa. Ourselves are also important. Who we are as English language teachers or the teacher educators is very, very necessary. I mean, we have to acknowledge who we are by our own. Thank you very much for listening. I don't know if any other person wants to say something. Thank you, Professor. You make me go deep in this field, and every experience listening to my parents' specific teacher is amazing. Thank you, Karen. Karen is one of my students. We have worked very hard also on something related to this, trying to understand many things from our experiences and the experiences of others as well with Karen. Thank you very much for being here.
Well, thank you, Professor Jairo, for that interesting and insightful talk about the elements that we need to consider as the process that we go through when we are becoming a teacher. I think many of us felt identified with some of the elements you mentioned during your talk. So thank you very much for participating and for being here, to all the people who join us today. And to finish with our session today, we have some important information to share about some of the activities that ASOCOPI is preparing for you. Remember that we are working on a very interesting professional development project, and we prepare a couple of diplomados on estrategias de fortalecimiento de enseñanza de inglés. There are two. One is teaching English to children, and the other one is teaching English to youngsters. We have a great group of tutors who are going to be leading you and working with you through this experience or learning experience. We have Professor Claudia Uribe, we have Claudia Suescun, we have Evelyn Quiseno, and they are going to go work with you in the different modules that we have prepared. We also have Claudia is going to teach some others. We have Catherine Uran, Laura Malagond, and Adriana Sanchez. So this is really interesting. You can still have the chance to register on to any of these two diplomados. The registration process is going to be open until May the 5th. So you still have the chance to attend them. All the information can be found on our website. Remember to go to www.asocopi.org, and there you can find in the section of diplomados all the information that you need to know about these diplomados that we have prepared for you. So thank you once again for being here, and remember that our next webinar is in 1 month. It's going to be May 27th. So please remember to check our social network. There you are going to find all the information about the activities that we have prepared and all the things that we are doing for the community of English teachers. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you thank you again, Professor Jairo, for this wonderful talk that you gave us. I hope you all have a great afternoon. Thank you for your comments. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys for attending. I can see Rafael here, Rafael Martinez, as well. Many people that I know.
Remember
Thank
to
you for
help us,
attending.
boys.
Jackie Aguirre también está aquí. Good. Oscar Andrés. That's good. Okay.